Welcome back, everybody. It's the real Big Three, the actual real Big Three, not the KD, Harden, Irving Big Three, although we have as many games played now at this point. We are at a different time than we normally are, and we are blaming wholly and completely Dan Besbris on that. You can follow him on the Twitter at Dan Besbris and send all your hate mail to him if you would like. Jonas Nader's with us as well, at Jonas Nader. Because it's a Thursday, he has no camera, so that's also Dan's fault. We're going to blame him here. So, but we are ready to talk some basketball with you guys. Obviously, a lot has happened since our last show. Harden got traded the day after our last show, so you guys have probably heard us all react to that already. So what I wanted to start out with, guys, is Victor Oladipo, and he's had a couple good games with Houston so far. Been looking pretty damn good. Obviously, an expanded role. More of the offense is going to have to be put on him than it was in Indiana. So, Dan, I'll start with you here. What do you think about Oladipo moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, he was one of those guys even before the trade where I sort of this happens to me every year where there's always like one or two guys during draft season where I just slowly warm on them. Every day I get a little bit warmer on Oladipo, and I ended up being pretty high on him, even with Indiana. And this is good for him. I mean, Indiana has about 3 or 4 options, and Houston has kind of 2/3, depending on how you feel about Eric Gordon. So his role shouldn't change a ton, probably a little bit more volume if I had to guess. But yeah, I dig it. You know, I'm still waiting to see what they look like with John Wall and Victor when you have kind of 2 primary ball handlers. But here's the thing. Without James Harden, they're going to have to try to play faster. They're not going to beat people in the half court the way that he could, because he could just carve defenses up. I'd say whatever you feel about his game, weird though it may be and foul heavy though it may be, he was very good in the half court, pick and roll, ISO, whatever you needed. They don't really have that guy now. So more pace, more possessions. I love it. I love everybody on Houston that even guys that were close get a little bit of a bump. So that's going to be, I think, a pretty fun fantasy spot.
The one thing I hate about it is I don't like the blue uniforms. You know, the Oiler blue. Yeah, they look too. Let's get Rocket Red back in there. Like I get it. It's a cash grab. Sell some of these jerseys, all that good stuff. But I don't like the blue. Jonas, what do you think about Oladipo in Houston now that Harden is gone and we can put that era behind us and start a new one?
Well, it's hard to fully gauge until we see like what they look like when John Wall gets back, and it sounds like he's going to be another 2 or 3 games before Wall is back. But
now, real quick on that though, you guys both have said that, and it's absolutely true. But isn't John Wall going to miss games? Isn't this what John Wall does?
Yeah, but isn't Oladipo too? Like he sat out the back-to-back early this season, and they have a back-to-back coming up too. So the thing I'm watching is coming up is how does Oladipo fare with Wall? Because when Wall was with Harden was still the point guard, but is Wall going to be the point guard now that Oladipo's playing? Like that's going to be the question. Victor Oladipo's usage is at 29%. It's probably going to stick around there, I would say, probably 27, 28 when Wall's back. The thing I really like about him this year is his steals are finally back. Remember that year in 2017, he had 2.4 steals per game. He's close to that range now. He's at 1.9 steals per game. So the only difference we're seeing with him is just that field goal percentage still needs that bump. He's still like 5% off of his career high. So there's still a little bit wiggle room for him to improve. But I think I'm valuing him in like the top 30, top 40 range if he doesn't sit in back-to-backs going forward, which I kind of think he does because the Rockets are pretty bad. Like they're set up nicely for the future. I'd rather they have gone for Ben Simmons. But I don't think they're going to be that good. They don't have the depth. Like they have the talent, but they don't have the depth right now. Like you can't play Jae'Sean Tate and all those guys.
Yeah,
Daniel House is out right now. It's rough.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, I watched the Suns game yesterday. I was texting back and forth with my buddy who's a gigantic Suns fan and all that stuff, and he was like, your team is. He's like they're not as good as they were, of course, but they're annoying, like because they kept getting down big and then coming back and getting down big and coming back. So the heart's there, which you know you want to see out of a team eventually. And Christian Wood is just unbelievably fun to watch, and Oladipo kind of being unleashed a little bit, like Dan said, is fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, you don't have much past Christian Wood, Oladipo, and Wall. Eric Gordon's good, but he's hurt all the time. and John Wall's banged up a lot, and the depth just really isn't there. So fun players to watch for sure, but not going to be overly competitive. Now, a former Rocket that I have been watching and has just been on an absolute surge here is my guy Clint Capella. And you guys know I was pissed when they traded Capella last year, even more now that Harden is gone. So I'm still really mad about that trade. But Capella, the last 3 games, has been insane. 25-15 with a steal and 4 blocks on the 16th at Portland. Of course, they have front court problems with no Nurk. Then against Minnesota with no Cat, he had 23-15, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 4 turnovers. And then last night he had his biggest game, 39 minutes against Detroit, 27 points, 26 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 5 blocks with no turnovers. Is this Capella surging forward and becoming one of the better fantasy assets right now, Jonas, or is this a nice 3-game stretch for Capella, and maybe this is a sell high moment for him?
Yeah, this is a nice little opportunity to jump ship if you have him. Like, this is your chance to unload Capella, because when the Hawks were healthy, right, when they had Gallo, they had Cam Reddish, they're all out right now. They had Bogdan and everything. He was only getting 26, 27, 26 minutes a game, right?
Yeah.
Now he's at 39, and like, the thing we were waiting for Capella was for the blocks to come up. He had 8 blocks total in his first 9 games. And now he has 12 blocks in his last 3 games. So the blocks have stabilized. He's probably going to stick around 2 per game with this workload, but then back down to 1.5 when he gets to normal 26, 27 minutes. But yeah, this is your sell high window. When the Hawks get back, I think they're starting to realize their best lineup is going to be Collins at the 5 and Gallo at the 4. Like, that's their best lineup. That's the best lineup to optimize Trey. So yeah, this is your chance to maybe get a top 30, top 40 guy in exchange for Capella, because I just don't see. I think he's an awkward fit there, personally.
I kind of like him. So I think some of the stuff we saw really early on was a little bit conditioning related, because he hadn't really played. I mean, he didn't play after the trade, so he didn't really have NBA game action from, like, when did he go down for the Rockets? Was that February last year?
Yeah, it was early.
Like that.
Yeah.
So I think some of the upward, I mean, obviously yesterday was overtime, so that would have been 34 minutes without the extra period. He's a monster of a rebounder. And then the weird stuff, and Jonas, you actually had an interesting tweet about the Trae Young, John Collins stuff going on. It always has me a little bit on edge. So I'm kind of a little bit extra bullish on anyone on that team that's not John Collins. It feels like there's just an opportunity here, and he's kind of seizing it. Now, that said, over the last week, he's a first rounder. That's not sticking. That's sort of never going to be the case. He's played these extra minutes because of overtime, because he had a couple of big games mixed in. But I do think the fact that over the season now, he's settled in that 40 range, that's a pretty reasonable expectation. The hope is he can stay healthy. He hasn't really done that in his career. Head-to-head, that makes him a tougher guy to hold all season long, because there are going to be those 2 weeks spans where he has a sore heel or, tweak hammy or whatever. If you have a games cap situation, I'm actually okay with riding it out. I think he could actually settle in that 30 to 40 range and just sort of chug along with a crap ton of rebounds all year.
Now, so you said you think he's going to settle into around the 40s. Jonas said you could probably get someone in the 30s right now for him. So yeah. you would deal him for someone in that neighborhood?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that deal. If you can get someone that's a little bit less injury prone, a little safer, maybe on a team where there's not, I mean, it's bubbling under the surface, but we all see the turmoil is there. That's fine. I'm also okay with just kind of hanging on. You'll get these hot runs he's on right now. You'll get the stretches where, they have to go a little smaller. But at the moment, when no one else on the Hawks is defending. So I think that's also why he's getting a few more minutes on the court. So I'm good with that. I think he settles into around maybe 29-ish minutes per game. That probably puts him somewhere in that 30 to 45 range, and you can probably call it comfortable there. Unload if you don't want to be a part of whatever baggage he brings, or ride it if you need his rebounding, his field goal percent, and those blocks. So I think with the fact that a lot of us agree on the valuation makes him a pretty easy guy to trade, because you can just find a nice 1-for-1 match and go get something else if you want it, but you don't have to.
Yeah, and I think there's a little meat there on the bone, like Dan mentioned. If something, if they were to move Collins, because him and Trey, and it's just not going to work. And if you don't think that the locker room has anything to do with trades. That's, the main reason why Harden just got dealt. It's the reason why Butler got dealt. Like, once this stuff starts to unravel, teams are quick to nip it in the bud, get rid of it, get it out of there. I mean, even if Harden hadn't gotten traded, they said he was going to stay away from the team until he did. So even if there was no one in there. So if this starts to get a little bit worse, then Collins is going to be up there, over 30 minutes or right around 30 minutes a game, you would think, moving forward. So I'm with you guys. I think there's a little meat on the bone, but I also think that, because he's hitting this gigantic stride right now, like Jonas said, 12 blocks in his 3 games after 8 in his first 8 or 9 or however many it was, it is a little bit surprising. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before I hand it over to Dan here is Jeremy Grant. He's at 20 so far this season, having a great year, but he was pre-ranked, I believe, 95. So right now he's shooting 47%. He's 86% of the line on almost 6 shots a game, over 2.5 triples, 25.4 points, 6 boards, almost 3 assists, a steal, 1.3 blocks, and only 1.4 turnovers. He has been fantastic. But we all know, we've seen these guys start out hot. They start to come back down to earth a little bit. So I love this game that we've invented here. What does he finish closer to, Dan? Does he finish closer to 20, where he's currently ranked, or 95, where Yahoo had him ranked in the preseason?
20, closer to 20.
Okay, I love it.
This is, looking at what he's done throughout his career, this is obviously an insane usage spike for him. But yet, his numbers haven't really taken the efficiency hit you might have thought would come with that kind of spike. And I don't know that we can then assume that they will. He's at 47% from the field this year, 46.5 for his career. So he's pretty close to that. 0.9 steals, 1.3 blocks. He's actually, I gotta tip the cap to Jonas here. He's actually playing 36 minutes a ball game. So we physically have his per 36s. His blocks were actually down last year. So if we were going to go by his Denver numbers, I think that's actually doing him a disservice. He'd been historically much more like what we saw in Oklahoma City. I guess that's 2 years ago now. I lost track of time, where he was at 0.8 steals, 1.3 blocks in 33 minutes. So where he's at now is very reasonable. The only thing you think is, is there a slowdown just related to how much he's playing and how much he's doing on the court? But, it's not like he's new to the NBA. He sort of understands the grind, and he wanted this. He signed up for this. Like, I'm going to go to Detroit. I'm going to get my money, and I'm going to take just as many shots as humanly possible. So I don't know that he stays exactly where he's at, but I think he's a heck of a lot closer to 20 than 90.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Dan and Brew. I think they were the highest on Grant in the whole industry. So congrats to them. That was a really good call. And I think Dan's right. I think Grant finishes in the top 25, actually. So definitely closer to 20. Probably finishes in the top 25. I did a deep dive on him stat-wise. And the big difference for him this year is his drives. He's getting 10.5 drives per game compared to 3 with the Denver Nuggets last year.
Great. That's great stuff.
Yeah. And the shooting seems to be sustainable, because he was at 39% on his catch and shoot threes last year. And this year he's at 40%. So it's not like he's shooting like absurdly high right now. So that's not going to come down either. And his usage rate's up 8%. So it's just more volume, and he's keeping the efficiency. And like, there's no one else in Detroit, right? This is all Grant. Like, there's no one that's a threat to take touches away from him. So he's locked in my opinion. So
yeah,
great call.
I like it. Yeah, and love that stat on the drives too, Jonas. That's great stuff, like Dan said. So, all right, well, that's my 3 out of the way. So I'm going to pass it over to Dan. Dan, what do you got for us?
It's me, huh? All right, well, let's go back to Atlanta. I thought I was going after Jonas because he has a guy who was a stash and is now playing. And I'll change the way I format the way I ask my question, because I thought we were going to have talked about him already. So Gallo is someone that I was relatively low on, actually, coming into this year. I think a lot of us were fairly low on him, because it just looked like there wasn't enough to do in Atlanta. There was going to be DeAndre Hunter and John Collins and Clint Capella in the front court, and you have Reddish and Herter and Trey and Rondo, and they signed Chris Dunn, but who the hell knows what's going on with that whole thing. So the thought was like, okay, we know Gallo's coming off the bench. They told us that. What's the most he can do as someone whose game is pretty heavily predicated on offensive usage? Because he's not rebounding all that much. I mean, it's a little bit. Not passing, not getting defensive stats. It's We need this guy to score and get to the free throw line. That's where his value lies. But now, with all the drama and the injuries, suddenly I'm starting to rethink my position on Gallo. He was dropped in about 30 to 40% of my leagues when the severity of his injury came out. And I'm stashing him in every single one of those because it feels like Atlanta kind of needs what he brings to the floor. What do you guys think? I guess I'll go Jonas first because I rolled a 2-sided die here, or flipped a coin. What do you think? Are you a little more bullish on Gallo? I'm starting to warm on him a little this year.
Yeah, this is like one of the first years I'm super bullish on Gallo. He's a kind of a guy that's always been like borderline early round value, but he's just never been healthy. Like he'll wake up one morning and have an ankle injury, like I don't know, stepping on a piece of cereal or something, and be out 3 weeks just hit out of nowhere.
It's a hard kernel of cereal.
So this is a guy that was 64th, 28th, 82nd, 46th, and 44th in previous years. And I actually think the Hawks are going to play him at small forward now. I mean, they played Solomon Hill yesterday. Like this team is in desperate need of some depth right now. So I am all in on Gallo. I think he could be top 75. And I do think the stuff that's going on in Atlanta eventually will come to a head. And I think they got to choose between Capella and John Collins, right? They have to at some point. Like that combo is not going to work long term. Gallo needs to play. They need his floor spacing. So yeah, I think he's going to be top 75. It's just about staying healthy with him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm never surprised by what Gallo does, and I'm with you, Dan. I think the fit in Atlanta is amazing. I just can never get past the fact the dude is always hurt. And I thought I was getting past it this year because he played he played 62 games last season, and he played 68 the year before that. So you're like, okay, maybe this is starting to roll downhill. He's not he's not going to do this again. But now he's hurt. Like Jonas said, he stepped on a piece of cereal and now he's out. The dude is made out of glass. I think that's why you see him getting dropped in so many spots, because people have seen this before. And Gallo always does this every single year. He goes on this run where he is a top 10 player, where you go, geez, no one can stop this guy. He's really launching himself as a, top 3-round player moving forward. And then he either hits a wall and gets a little banged up and plays a little worse because of it, or he hits the wall and gets too banged up and misses games. So he is a frustratingly fun player to own because he has that upside and can carry you, particularly in head-to-head, where he can just win you a couple weeks. And he's way better to own in head-to-head too, because you can just throw him on the IL when he's not doing anything for you, or if he's banged up and not playing well. But it's frustrating. So I don't want to buy back into him. If I own him, obviously I'm not going to dump him or anything. But I don't, because I think if you buy Gallinari, you know what you're getting. But I'm never going to go out on a limb for him because dude just can't stay healthy.
Well, I'm glad to hear you guys in general agree that it floored me that he was getting dropped, but then it seems like his role now is better than his role when he got hurt, which is kind of a weird thing for someone who's on, injured reserve, and you're looking at him like, oh, this guy's fantasy value keeps looking better and better to me. Second one, who is Brooklyn's true center? Bogman, I'm going to you first, and then I guess I'll talk last on this one. Is it DeAndre Jordan or is it Jeffrey Green?
It's Jordan. I mean, it's the guy that they have left. You know what I mean? I don't want anyone that's really, I don't want much on Brooklyn that isn't one of those top 3 guys, because, they're going to be figuring it out and messing around a bunch. And I don't want any part of Jordan either. But I think I have to say Jordan here, but I get what you're talking about with Jeff Green. And Jeff Green made a huge shot last night too. So he's a nice addition there, but Jordan's their center.
Can I have a hot take? I think Jeff Green's a priority ad right now.
Yeah, my man. I said that on my pod this morning.
Yeah, he looks really good. Like, remember last year, Jeff Green looked really good in Houston as a small ball 5, and now that Brooklyn Nets are doing the exact same thing this year too. So 37 minutes per game over his last 3. They're going to play him at the 3, 4, and 5. We know they're going to rest Kyrie, Kevin Durant here and there, right? DeAndre Jordan's on his last legs. Dude can't even jump anymore. I think Jeff Green's a priority ad. I think he's going to be a top 100 guy. He's not going to be a league winner by any means, but I think it's going to be a guy that gets you a top 100 stat set, decent defensive category, decent defensive stat. That's actually really hard to say. Wow. But yeah, just good across the board, right? Yeah. But yeah, I'm all in on him.
Yeah, I set you guys up so that I could talk last in this one because I didn't want to lead any of the witnesses here. I actually think there's a world where both end up inside the top 100 because their stat sets are so very different. And you're going to have those games from DeAndre Jordan like yesterday where he doesn't play as much and still somehow kind of managed to float his value by basically not missing because he's now exclusively dunking once again, and he's going to be open pretty much as often as they need him to be open. So that part's kind of taking care of itself. So like DeAndre Jordan, 24 minutes, he only grabbed 4 rebounds. That was a bit of a letdown, but 2 blocks and 6 out of 7 shooting. And then Jeff Green played 45 minutes in the double overtime game, had 16, 7, and 2, a steal, a block, and 4 3-pointers. Looking at Jeff Green's stats over the years, they don't jump off the page, but I do think, like Jonas said, the fact that he's going to be playing in 3 positions and seeing center minutes, that gives him more rebounds. That gives him an opportunity for more defensive stats. Centers chasing him out to the 3-point line. He's going to be wide open out there. There isn't a ton of upside with him because he's playing on a team with KD, Harden, and Kyrie, but it's a little bit Joe Harris-like in that he's just going to be wide open. And so put him on the court for 30-something minutes, and he'll probably do enough to be at least 9-cat fantasy relevant. So yeah, I like them both, actually. I think there's a weird thing happening here where Brooklyn plays so little defense, games are going so fast that there might be 6 guys on that team with fantasy value when this thing is all said and done. And finally, my last question, where does DeAndre Ayton end up? Because he's now had 2 actually pretty darn good ball games in a row. Yesterday was kind of his big one, the eye-opening one at last, 26 and 17.
Yeah, we all saw it.
and Bogman's Rockets lost to the Ayton Suns. But where does he actually end up? Because I've called him a buy low, and then I've sort of paused after saying it and followed it up with like, yeah, he's a buy low, but I don't even personally know if I think he's getting back to where he was drafted. So you almost needed to buy him at an even more affordable rate. I already forgot which direction I went last time. I think, Jonas, I get to go to you first on this one. Where does DeAndre Ayton end up? And you can't really buy him anymore. So what's the target for this dude?
I think if he ends up near the end of 3rd round, early 4th round, you're happy. I don't think he's a 2nd rounder many people were expecting. The usage up until the last 2 games is nowhere near where it was last year or even in the bubble. Hasn't really gotten the Chris Paul bump. I think Chris Paul's kind of lost a little step. I'm still like, I'm in on Chris Paul, obviously, but I don't think Ayton's getting the Devin Booker bump either this year. They seem kind of a little bit out of sync before the last 2 games. So this is when Ayton starts to ramp up. And I also think it's a conditioning thing. We heard Monty Williams call out after 3 preseason games when he got dominated by Gobert. He's like, Ayton's not in shape right now. But after last night, Monty Williams called Ayton a monster, really changed the tune on him. So I think some big things are coming. But I don't think he's a 2nd rounder. I think he's late 3rd, early 4th.
I think he is closer to a 2nd rounder than he is to a 4th rounder. So I don't know if he's going to finish in that 2nd round value, like you mentioned, Dan. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's going to live up to his preseason draft and hype and all that stuff. But I do think that a lot of this is just the Suns getting in rhythm. Like, when Chris Paul came to Houston, it didn't take as long because Harden was already the guy there. Oklahoma City, I think Chris Paul was just a perfect fit for this team. I don't think he's an exact perfect fit for the Suns, but he is going to help them a ton, as Jonas alluded to, as you've alluded to as well. And I think a lot of it is just working all of it out. And I think they're still doing it right now. So, and especially when you see someone like DeAndre Ayton, who could be dominant, come in out of shape and all that stuff. Hopefully they start cracking the whip on him. You know what I mean? And he gets back into the rounded out form that we think he's going to be, because this guy can be an absolute dominant force with Chris Paul. And I think Paul is going to be the leader that he needs there. And I think he's really going to make Ayton step up. So I do think he finishes closer to the 2nd round than the 4th, but maybe not in the 2nd round. So maybe a early 3rd round pick, somewhere around there, somewhere between 25 and 30.
Yeah, I think I'm probably on board with that as well. He's probably not getting to that 18, 19 mark that maybe there was some hope of, although his last 2 games have been pretty interesting. So I guess we'll see. One of the things that I think I may have overdone with Ayton is that, he had the 5 blocks yesterday, but I know that his career is not that long to this point. His block rate is actually not that insanely high. It was pretty darn good last year, but which one is he really? Was he 1.5 or is he the 0.9 the year before when the minutes weren't all that different? He's at 1.3 right now. And like Jonas was talking about, the usage way down, 10.5 shots a game this season. He was at 15 last year.
I think he's closer to 1.5 because now he's actually playing center. You know, he wanted to be the 4 last year instead of the 5. And I think they kind of had to let that dream.
Imagine being that out of touch with reality, thinking you're a 4 when you're 8, and the dude cannot even move.
Yeah. Well, how many threes has he hit in his career? Like 2? You're gonna be a non-stretch 4. Okay. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
And I see you have a bonus one here, Dan. Hit us with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I'm frustrated with Team Fun right now, which of course, if you guys listened last year, we talked about Memphis a lot. What the hell, Memphis? Why are you not playing D'Anthony Melton? They DMP'd our guy.
Unreal.
Yeah, I know Jonas is very mad about this.
Can you imagine? Okay, so the reasoning for Taylor Jenkins is he wants to start Grayson Allen for floor spacing, but Grayson Allen's below like 34% for his career. Like he hasn't shot well in 3 years. It's not happening for him, right? And then they have Dylan Brooks. They let Dylan Brooks jack up 16 to 20 shots a game at like a 30% clip, and he's in there for floor spacing too, apparently. If you're gonna,
that's the one I saw you tweet about yesterday, right, Jonas?
Yeah, it's insane.
You're like, why are they playing this guy? Brooks is shooting less than 40%. Just let Melton get in there for God's sake.
Yep. It's very frustrating. I don't know what, like, if Taylor Jenkins was supposed to be like this advanced stats guy, if he just looked at the advanced stats, he'd realize Melton would be their starting shooting guard this year, but he just doesn't. I don't know if Melton told him off in a meeting or something, or there's something going on there that it's very weird because they paid him. The front office loves him, obviously. They gave him $40 million to not play him. That's just weird.
Jonas ain't going to be happy with a Grizzlies coach until Jonas is the Grizzlies coach.
Exactly.
That's what it's going to be.
Jaren Jackson Jr. promoted to point guard.
Oh my God, I could see it happening too. All right. Well, if you're listening on the podcast, we're going to take a quick break. If you're watching us live, the break will be 2 seconds. So we're going to take a break right here, and we're going to get Jonas's 3 subjects. So it's the real big 3 on In This League. All right, Jonas, you're up. What are your 3 subjects we're going to talk about today?
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit out of order because we just talked about Memphis. Let's talk about the next Draymond Green, Xavier Tillman. I know that's bold, right? This is a guy, he's not very tall. I think it's like 6'7", 6'8". I don't know. He might be 6'9".
What a short guy.
He is basically the Lou Dort of centers. He is the Lou Dort of centers. But he's getting minutes he has 10% of his minutes as a small forward this year. He's got 30% of his minutes as a center, 61% of his minutes as a 4. And recently he like Gorgui Dieng has played out of his mind in limited minutes, but for Tillman to take his job already says a lot. Tillman leads a team in net rating, second in defensive rating. Over his last 3 games, I believe it's 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2.3 steals, and 0.7 triples in 24 minutes a night. That's top 55 numbers in 9Cat. It's a little bit of fool's gold, a little bit, because Valanciunas was in foul trouble in 2 of those, and then also missed 1 for medical protocols. So obviously the workload's a little misleading. But man, the Grizzlies have a logjam on their hands, right? They got to do something. So now they have Kyle Anderson, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, Xavier Tillman, and Jonas Valanciunas. Somebody has to go, right? I think it's Valanciunas. I love Valanciunas. I think he's a great fit in that team, but he has a great team-friendly contract. I think a team would come calling for him if the Grizzlies falter towards the end of the season, because Taylor Jenkins did say that JJJ's best position and future position is at the 5. So obviously something's got to go. Maybe this is the time to trade Valanciunas and then open up minutes for everyone, because you have Tillman, Clark. You got to play these guys.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah. I mean, with JV and the protocol, like Jonas said, we're sort of staying ahead of the curve here. In your notes, Jonas, you listed him as a dynasty type of guy, and that's really accurate. We're getting a glimpse of what he can do. He can rebound a little bit. He's racking up steals. They've been markedly better when they've utilized him more. He's just playing hard. It's that thing of just like putting yourself on the line. It's gonna be a minute. I don't know if, even if JV gets traded, I'd be a little surprised if it happened now as opposed to maybe like a month, 2 months from now.
Yeah.
You almost want them. I say this, of course, it's kind of tongue in cheek. You almost want them to lose a bunch of games and kind of get forced, kind of rammed into a youth movement. Because if they are fighting for a playoff spot or the play-in tournament, then you're going to see at least enough JV to keep Tillman from getting onto the radar.
Yeah.
But this is a guy, absolutely, file him in the back of your head, keep tabs on Memphis, probably in the offseason, see if anybody gets moved in or out, and just try to, is there a way they're going to carve out 24, 25 minutes for him the following year, and you can really get out in front of it. And if you're in a keeper league where there's like an ad date cutoff towards the end of your season, snatch him up on that day right before the cutoff. Just put him on the end of your bench and see what happens.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of talent there, and he's getting a lot of playing time because, as you mentioned, Valanciunas right now in protocols. I mean, the Grizzlies just had a couple games canceled. So
they're not playing until
they're not playing for 3 games now.
Right. So he may not get the playing time moving forward just because his, when he could really show off is going to happen. But you're absolutely right about the dynasty stash. I'm just worried about the Grizzlies looking at things realistically, because we just talked about how they're not doing right by Melton. You know what I mean? So are they really going to do right by Tillman when JJJ's back and, Valanciunas is ready to rock and all that stuff? And we haven't heard any rumors. I have, as JV been on the block, I haven't heard too much about him potentially getting moved. So I'm not saying that's out of the realm of possibility. I just think, if you're in a redraft, I would like to have Tillman, but right now it's tough to add him, especially if you're in a regular, short bench, because the Grizzlies are missing games. And then when he comes back, assumingly Valanciunas is also going to be back, and not that ruins him or anything, but it does lower his overall value a little bit. So I am in on Tillman, and look, Steve said the same stuff on the Monday pod. So you and him are very simpatico. You Roto World boys over there, Nader. But I'm a little worried about just what they're doing overall in Memphis, because like you said, I said it before, I think Jonas is more concerned than anyone about the rotations in Memphis because it's his guys, but we all are, what are you guys doing? Play Tillman more, play Melton more. What is happening over here? It's nuts.
If they moved Grayson Allen and Dylan Brooks, I would buy a season pass ticket and drive to Memphis every night. 12-hour round trip.
6 hours there, 6 hours back. Let's go. Season
easy.
Are they letting people in the stands there?
I have no idea.
Doubt it.
No idea. I doubt it though.
Yeah, I don't think they are, but
I think they have season pass. I think they have season pass people there probably, but
okay,
that's about it.
Nice. I like.
All
that.
right, for my next, I got one more dynasty stats before we talk about Jeremy Lamb. I know Dan's excited about Jeremy Lamb.
I am excited about Jeremy.
Yeah. So my next stash is Jaden McDaniels, and I'm going to give a hot take here. I think he could be the next Jonathan Isaac type player in about 2-3 years. We got our first extended look at this guy last night. This is the 28th overall pick, a 5-star recruit out of Washington. So he had 12 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 3 blocks, and 2 3-pointers. Had 2 blocks on 1 possession where he blocked Vucevic and then immediately sprung back up and got another one. It was kind of like a Jordan Bell kind of play, like early career Jordan Bell, where he's just super springy. 7 of 15 from 3 so far, really good sample size. Was a guy that averaged 1.8 blocks per 40 in college, a 6'10" forward with a 7-foot wingspan. The Wolves have 2 really nice young power forwards now, Jared Vanderbilt and Jaden McDaniels. The future is bright there. Like, obviously they're 3-10 this year, but they're actually a really good team when Cat plays. So like, if you're a Wolves fan, I still think you're optimistic despite this awful start. Like, there's a lot of fun young talent on that team once they figure everything out. So I'm really high on him for the future. If you're in a dynasty league, I'd be offering, if I'm rebuilding, I'd be all in on Jaden McDaniels. I think he's going to be the next Jonathan Isaac type player.
Man,
I got nothing. By the way, I got nothing on this one. You've gone so far past. I mean, how young is this dude? Is he 18 years old yet?
He's 19.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
Dan, is there a little more respect for rookies? Some of them are playing pretty well this year.
Yeah, there is actually. I've been impressed with Tyrese Halliburton. LaMelo Ball's actually looked pretty good so far this year. But yeah, I mean, McDaniels is very much a look towards the future. Absolutely. Yeah. But that was a pretty cool stat line last night. That's about as much as I know about him right now. Full disclosure.
Yeah. He's my second favorite, I would say, off the radar rookie behind Poku. I love Poku for the Thunder. I think he's going to be a Jokic level prospect, and I don't say that lightly.
Yeah,
He has it.
I love the Jonas theme of this show is, yeah, these teams really suck, but some of their players might be pretty good. Thanks a lot, Jonas, lumping my Rockets and Wolves into the same category here. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. And look, he's another guy that, while he may be 11 years old or whatever, just get him into the game and let him play. Just see what you have. You only have 3 wins already. It's not like you're shooting for the stars this year, so let it work out a little bit. I mean, I know Saunders also has to keep his job, but you're not going to keep your job throwing Naz Reid out there for 25 minutes a night and all that stuff. So why not let the kids have a little bit of a shot? I'm more upset about Vanderbilt not getting more playing time. Let's get him in there. So
he's a 96% percentile player. Team shoot against him, so that's like Draymond. Early career Draymond upside for Vanderbilt. It's insane.
Man, yeah. So let's get some of these guys more on the court. But look, we all know the law of averages in the NBA. If you're good enough, you're going to get out there eventually.
Yeah.
So let's hope for that. But yeah, I don't have a lot.
Unless you're Terrence Jones.
Unless you're Terrence Jones.
Poor soul never got a chance.
Terrence Jones never had a chance.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So for my last one, I added Jeremy Lamb in a few spots, and I'm loving it. I was super encouraged by his debut. Had all 10 of his points in the first half. Didn't score anything after halftime, but still had a strong debut in 19 minutes. 10 points, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 triple. There's a huge path to value in Indiana. Obviously, Karis LeVert's going to be out a long time. It doesn't sound like he has cancer. I think once he gets the surgery, everything will be fine with him. But I don't think he'll be back soon. And obviously, TJ Warren may not even come back this season. We haven't heard anything about a timetable for him. So this might be Jeremy Lamb's second best path to value apart from his Charlotte days. And remember, in Charlotte, he was the 54th player in 9-cat with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.1 steals. And the thing about Lamb that's so underrated is he's so efficient. Like 90% from the line. He's a low turnover player, 1 turnover. This is just I'm very excited about him. I think it's gonna be like a week or 2 before he's really like posting consistent top 100 numbers, but he's worth the wait. I think it's gonna be a great pickup.
Oh yeah. I had a lot of pushback on the Jeremy Lamb thing on Twitter. That surprised the hell out of me. A lot of people were like, "No, he's terrible. Don't even worry about it." I was like, "Look, you guys have forgotten. Short-term memory is frittering away, and that's fine. I mean, COVID has sort of wiped out most of our memory of anything.
Yeah,
like more than
years ago. It was actually 5 years ago.
Yeah, what are we talking? We're talking about 2018, not 2013. Yeah, he was really good in that last run with Charlotte. Like Jonas said, 15, 5.5, great foul shooter, doesn't turn it over, terrific 9-cat guy, and then no Karis, no Warren. There are other options right now to fill in that spot have been Justin Holiday, who really is not a volume scorer in any way, and Doug McDermott, who's not at all consistent enough. I was sort of pondering this. I thought in my mind, maybe they leave Lamb as a 6th man, even once he's fully healthy. But there's actually a world where they're just like, screw it, throw him into the starting lineup. There are shots to be had behind basically Brogdon and Sabonis. The other guys on that team are not really about chucking up shots. So, hell yeah. I mean, what I said on the pod was that you can't expect him to have value before February starts. Assume the next 10 days is just watch him. Does he look healthy? Cool. That's all you're looking for. And then past that, once he hits about 24, 25 minutes, get him into that lineup because that's a top 100 floor for him.
Mm-hmm. So would you guys, is Holiday gonna lose a little bit when Lamb starts to get going? Like who? I mean, I know LeVert obviously, and Oladipo being gone opens up a lot there. So, but are you guys worried about anybody else coming down as Lamb has his ascension?
I think McDermott loses value, and I think Holiday keeps most of his. I think that what Holiday brings to the Pacers is huge right now. He's also a great pickup. I think he's been a pickup for a few weeks now. Really good steals and threes guy. But yeah, I think McDermott loses some value. Obviously, Miles Turner being out helped McDermott last game. So I think there's plenty of room for Lamb and Justin Holiday to be top 100 players quite easily.
Yeah, I agree with Jonas on that one. Nothing to add.
All right. Well, how about this one? We got a question here. If you guys want to throw a couple out before we get out of here, feel free. Green or Jordan, if you had to choose for the rest of the season? We were obviously talking about Jeff Green and DeAndre Jordan earlier in the show.
I'm going to go Jeff Green unless you're punting free throws.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go Green too. It seems like they want to get him more of the minutes, so I'll just go with the guy who's on the court more.
Yeah, I would go Green too, and I'm a little bit afraid of, if KD and Irving and Harden start really getting into a nice rhythm and Jordan's out on the floor, these teams are going to start just absolutely hacking Jordan. So he's going to have to lose.
That's a good point.
Of playing time at that point, because he cannot shoot a free throw to save his life. This one is from Luke. It says, hey guys, 9 cat head-to-head, 1 IR spot. Warren is occupying that right now. Is it worth it to drop him for Nurk? Absolutely. In my opinion, like Jonas said before, we may not see Warren again. So What do you guys think?
Yeah, at least we have a timetable for Nurkic, right? We know when to expect him back, but for Warren, we have no idea if he's even going to play again this season.
Yep, agreed. You got to go with the guy who's, and better upside there for Nurk as well.
Not to mention trade value. Let's pretend we're 3 weeks from his eventual return date. You could flip Nurkic and probably get a top 40, top 50 guy if you just don't want to deal with it.
All right. Also, what's up, Luke? Luke's my guy.
Yeah, Luke's your guy. All right. And then we got this one, 9 cat Roto, MPJ or Van Vliet.
Ooh,
that's a tough question.
Ooh.
I'm going MPJ.
Yeah. Oh man,
it's close though.
That is real close. Brady's look good. Van Vliet, where's he at? 36 right now.
I think I go Van Vliet, but that one, there's no one else to drop. Those are 2 really good players. There's nobody else. That's a tough call. I think I go Van Vliet right now because he's on the court. So.
I'll go Michael Porter as well. I think there's a hair of more upside there. But I mean, is this a trade?
It might be.
It must be. It must be.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Right, exactly. All right, 2 MPJs, 1 Van Vliet. So not much help there for you. Oh, look at who's joining us here. Adam King. What up, Adam? What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us here. It is a trade that he is pondering about that last one, by the way. This one, Adam just did this to upset everyone on this podcast here. Twitter question from earlier in the week: Wood or Boucher? Oh God, don't make us answer that one. Dan, you start.
I'll go Christian Wood just because as long as he's healthy, 30 minutes are coming, and having that playing time guaranteed just makes it a really easy call. Boy, Boucher is doing so much with every minute he's on the floor, though. I'll go Christian Wood.
Yeah, it's Christian Wood by like 2 or 3 spots. It's super close.
Yeah, I mean, it's Christian. Now, I tell you what, Wood, it looked like, and I think Doc was tweeting about it yesterday. It looked like he turned his ankle really bad yesterday, right before the half, about 2 minutes left in the half, went to the locker room early, but came back out after halftime and looked pretty good. So he might be one of those AD type of guys that gets a little nicked up, has to go back and come back. But
man, they play the Pistons tomorrow. If he doesn't play that game, I'll be very, very upset. Can you imagine the revenge game there?
Yeah, that's gonna be.
How you doing, Troy Weaver?
I mean, the nice thing for Wood is he is cut by half the NBA, right? So it's revenge every single night. So let's see. Jesse L here says 9 cat Roto, Gobert or Capella.
Gobert. He's shaking off the injury bug. He's just safer.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much the same player, just less injury prone.
Gobert looks a little more spry. I think, Jonas, didn't you want to bury him a little bit earlier in the year?
Yeah, he couldn't jump over a credit card to begin the season. He looks a little bit more spry now, and they're really rocking the Conley Gobert pick and roll right now. It looks pretty good.
How about and look, Adam reporting news to us. Wood won't play this weekend. Already ruled out tomorrow.
Bummer.
Swole up on him after that game and the flight and stuff. Mike has another one. Harrison deal for Kawhi in a points league.
Got to read this one. I'll go Kawhi.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll go Kawhi. Not playing in back-to-backs is huge. Absolutely huge.
Let's see. Let's get one more in here from my guy Blake. He says, would you guys be as high on Gallo if Trey wasn't so cold? Jonas, what do you think?
Trey's shooting doesn't really have any effect on me in terms of Gallo's value. I'm still high on Gallo regardless.
Danny?
Yeah, I think the Trey stuff is actually impacting my Gallo assessment. I think the fact that the team just looks, and it's not so much Trey himself, just kind of a Hawks wide team chemistry thing where it feels like just get somebody else in there and he's got a nice path to maybe doing more than he would have before. So yes, it is impacting it, but it's kind of everybody and not just Trey.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with Gallo is I'm more out because of his injury history and all that stuff. Obviously, great player. Like I said, he'll if you're in a head-to-head, he can be very, very valuable and win you some weeks for sure when he gets on that high-end thing that we always see him do every single year. He's done it with every team that he's been on. So he's a great player, but I have 0 shares of Gallo, and I just don't want to own him anymore. I've owned him too many times and been disappointed by him missing games. So I thought that him finally playing games was because of me, and you were all welcome, because I quit owning him. So, and Olynyk, by the way, a little bit of a sinking ship recently. But I didn't pick him up anywhere. So that is going to be it for us today. Obviously it's a little bit later than we're used to, but I kind of like Thursdays. So we'll see. Maybe does this work better for you guys, or
I can make it work. It doesn't matter to me.
Give or take. Yeah. Either way, I think.
I kind of like Thursdays. Maybe we'll talk about it off air, and we'll let you know what the plan is moving forward here. So, here, one last one. Would you rather stash Robert Williams or Jeff Green? We're all Robert Williams on that one.
Yeah.
Right? Time Lord.
A 6-rounder in 60 minutes. That's not, you don't find that every day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, look, remember, please check out the Patreon, patreon.com/ITL Army, where the Welsh and I have all kinds of stuff for you. We do live streams. We got our secret shows. We had a really funny one this week. Can't really mention the subjects we talked about on a regular show, to be honest with you. But I know Jonas is in there. Jonas will enjoy it. And we got group me rooms. We got all kinds of, baseball seasons coming up. We got baseball rankings and all that stuff. Dan, do you still do baseball? Because I know you're a huge baseball fan, but do you have time to put together a team?
No, I don't do fantasy baseball. I love following the sport, but I have so many things going on family style, like right when all the games are starting, that all those late scratches and platoons, I end up using like half of my baseball roto budget. It's brutal.
All right. Well, look, we got all kinds of stuff for you. And, Dan, if you want to climb back in, we got stuff for you. So
I'll let you ghost run my team. That'll just pay you behind the scenes here.
Check us out over there. And then what do you have coming up at a hoop ball, Danny?
Oh my goodness. Always something. I work so hard that I can't keep track of these things. So just follow me on Twitter at Dan Vespers. It's there on the screen. And then whatever we've got going on, I'll make sure to tweet it out so everybody knows. It's the usual fare at this point. No, we're in the grind. We've got all of our packages running. We got the betting stuff, the DFS stuff, the full season stuff. Let me usher you with various weird social media games and queries. So yeah, just follow me. I'll figure it out later.
Jonas, what is going on at Roto World right now?
Every Sunday you can find me for the waiver wire column, and on Wednesdays now I'm doing the season pass for Stock Watch, where I just do like buy low, sell high for dynasty players. So I get to talk about the 18-year-olds that Dan doesn't know about.
And you do the AMA on Tuesdays, right?
That's correct. Yeah, for Twitch. Yeah. Yep. Every Tuesday, I think it's 2:00 Eastern. Q&A for Twitch. Yep.
Nice. All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we will see you guys next week at some time. We're not sure which day yet. So take it easy, boys. We'll see you.